I'm Sherry Beach. I work at Bruce Power Environment Program, as Francis already told you. My background is in aquatic ecology, and I'm in love with the lake, so I want to make sure that it's all protected and good. I was down at Bay the Door before this looking for the bass. They're starting to nest already, so keep an eye out for them if you're fishing there. But I want to talk today about our temperature monitoring program. We actually started this last year, and it's going to continue for the next 3 years in some capacity. So for this coming year, we're going to have markers out of the lake again. And so what's really important is, we can't have boats out there and look at these markers all the time. So if you guys are out there and you start to see things, if you can let us know, we're going to be setting up something for you to communicate that, and we'll post that, I think, in your next newsletter. Yeah. So anyway, at Bruce Power, we've always been really conscious of the environment. I think, as you guys know, as we've built the plant, we've always done pre and post environmental assessments at every time we've been building. So we actually started monitoring for our plume and for all of our aquatic impacts in the 70s and the 80s. We carried them out in the 90s. And now with our restart happening and our ongoing commitment to protect the environment, we're going to be monitoring our thermal plume again, right? So it's an ongoing thing. We're going to be keeping monitoring and understanding what the impact our plant has on the environment. And also we're understanding what impact the environment has on our plant, right? So I run our fish and pinchment program. I work with Larry Ben, one of your guys here. And we are monitoring the fish and the algae coming in that impacts our plant. So we want to understand what's going on in the lake so we can understand how it might impact our operations, right? So there's two sides to this. We're protecting the environment, we're also understanding how the environment impacts us. So for this year, we're going to be again putting out the same temperature monitors we had out last year. So there's 33 of these monitors in the lake, and I handed out a map of them. There's just one at each table. I didn't print enough because I wasn't expecting so many people tonight. It's a map here, and it's showing you what they look like. So what the temperature monitor is, I sent out a picture of the anchors too. So we have these big flat anchors, and we drop them on the bottom of the lake. And they're actually out there now. They're just monitoring the bottom temperature. So we've been monitoring the bottom temperature all winter, and now we're going to reconfigure them to the summer configuration, I call it. So what we're going to be doing is pulling all these up, and in your picture here, this middle anchor, if you see there's a little dirty, but there's a little white thing sticking up. That's a temperature monitor in that middle one, okay, on that particular one. So we're going to be checking those, and then what we do is we hang a temperature string off of this, and it comes up to the surface, and it has these, the other picture you have with the spar on the float. So that's taking that temperature string from the bottom up to the top there. So it's underneath the spar, and the float's just a marker to show where it is. And I know sometimes with the weather, between the spar and the float, they kind of bounce around the lake a little bit. So they have had trouble getting some of them back, and we don't want that to happen. We put out, with actually too many really, that 33 is a bit overkill, but we're worried we won't get some of them back always. So if we can keep an eye out for that. And if you notice any damaged equipment or anything as well, we're trying to keep an eye out for those types of things. And so they're spread out over quite an area. They go from shallow as 5 meters out to 20 meters. So it's to make sure we're capturing that whole potential area, what the plume might be, both in and outside, because we want to know what ambient temperature looks like. And with that, there's another picture of a piece of equipment. It's on a tripod with a little circle thing in the middle. It's an ADCP. It's an acoustic Doppler current profiler. It measures the wave action in the lake. So it's looking at the currents, how they're moving, and how the waves are acting, so that we can understand with the current data and the temperature data how the lake's moving right in the vicinity of our plant. So we have 2 of those out. One's off of Gut Point and one's off of Devil's Point. They're both just beyond 20 meters depth. And they won't have the spar with them. They'll just have a floating marker. So if you're out there and you just see that, it's not broken. It's just only the one marker. So coupled with this year, and we have been doing this in previous years, and you guys have been great. The ones that have been surveyed for our creel survey, I'm sure we've seen some of you. When I was down at the dock today, the guy was launching the boat, and he says, "Hey, you're the fish and pinchment lady." So I guess that's my new name, fish and pinchment lady. So yeah, I used to do the creel surveys, and we're having some great students do them this year. And what the creel survey is when you're coming out of the lake, or they usually ask you even when you're going in where you're going. We just just want to know if you're fishing in the discharges, if you're fishing locally, and what you're catching. And when you come back in, we'll ask you a bunch of questions. So, you know, when did you launch? When you're coming in, we break down the time. We ask where you're from. We're doing this with the Ministry of Natural Resources, so we're following a protocol, and it's a partnership we have with them. And we'll ask you how you were fishing, what you're fishing for, what you're looking for. A lot of the times, you don't catch anything. We still want to know if you were out salmon fishing or walleye fishing or whatever you were, because we look at the amount of fishing pressure. So if we were fishing for walleye and you've been fishing for 3 hours, we can say you put 3 hours against walleye fishing, right? So it's that type of data, and we're coupling that with all the other surveys the MNR does. So it's building a database. So we've been doing this in 2009, 10, 11, and 12. We'll do it again for the next 3 years, 13, 14, 15. And we're at the Bay d'Or boat launch and the Inver Huron boat launch, just because they're the 2 local sites to Bruce Power. And if you do catch fish, we'd like to be able to measure them and weigh them and take a scale sample. And I know during the Derby it gets kind of crazy and people don't like us to touch the fish, but we're not trying to harm them or change the weight or do anything crazy. We're just trying to measure them. And at the beginning of the year with the students, you might have to be a little patient. It takes them a little while and they're a little nervous, so you can respect that. So at the end, yeah, we're going to be putting all the data together. It probably won't really be a huge picture altogether till the very end, but we'll work on communicating that, I think, as we go, if we can. Do you want to have questions, or do you want to speak again?
Does anyone have any questions for Sherry Lee?
So Sherry Lee, the markers that we saw out there last year, it looks like a yellow hockey stick.
Yeah.
They're all supposed to have an orange buoy on it?
Yeah.
And if we see one that does not, we're to notify you guys right away?
Yeah, it'd just be good for us to know
Okay.
if there's something happening.
Would it be possible to get some signage as a Derby participant at your way station, garden, Port Elgin especially, and at the launches to inform other people that don't really belong to the club, but they fish here. So that they're more knowledgeable of what is happening, monitoring, not only the monitors that are putting out there, but also the samples you're gathering and so on. Better informed public, probably have better cooperation.
No, I completely agree, and we can maybe work on that. I did try to put up this sign last year, but I went back and checked shortly after, and a lot of them were gone. So maybe there's a better way we can do that.
For sure. Yeah. Right at the launches.
At the launches and at the week.
Yeah. Well, and the whole reason why this partnership began, I just asked the question, how come the Lake Huron Fishing Club doesn't do anything with Bruce Power? And nobody could really give me an answer. So through one of the executive members who works at Bruce Power, he got me Sherry Lee's email. I sent her an email just saying, I'd really like the opportunity to meet with you. And the intention was not anything else than to have a partner. If they're our neighbor, we should be partners with them. After a couple of meetings with Francis, Emily, and Dr. Sherry Feach, Francis told me that they were going to fund the club, that they thought the club was a great thing, and that they were going to put money behind it. What I hope we can do as a club for Bruce Power is, and we're working, again, this is happening in the background, but Bruce Power and myself, we're working together with Rick Dwinell to develop basically you go to our website when you've gone fishing and you just type in what species you caught, where you caught it. I don't know if we'll go into detail with depths, but certainly the weight of it, the length of it, whatever. And then Dr. Sherry Lee can actually take the data that we dump onto our site, and she can extract that and use that for her studies. Just not being grumpy and having patience when these young people come and ask for scale samples, those types of things. That's what our commitment has to be to Bruce Power after such a wonderful monetary donation to a struggling club. So that's ultimately what I hope we could do. And there will be lots more. Like Francis said, the seedling has just been planted. This thing's going to blossom, and it's going to take some time. So, you know, I'm sure we'll try things that we end up saying, no, that didn't work, let's try something else. And conversely, there will be things we try that are just a huge success, and we'll build on those things. So that's ultimately what we have to do. We have to show our commitment to the good folks of Bruce Power, and those, you know, just having send an email saying, I noticed one of your markers was dragged up on the shore over by Baby Door or whatever. That means a lot to them, because then they can come and get it back into the water. The beauty, and what really is going to help the partnership, is they don't have, as Sherry Lee said, they don't have boats to go out there all the time. We have hundreds of boats with our members, so you know, we can go out there, we can be the eyes and the voice on the water and get it back to these folks. So that's ultimately, again, it's just the beginning, but I think it's the least we could do after such a wonderful announcement that we got tonight. So, all right, thank you.
So if we're downrigging the area, we should leave quite a distance from these spars, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a temperature, it's just a string, right, and it
So
has
we don't
temperature
wanna-
probes
so
all
we
down
don't-
it, but if you, yeah, I don't want to catch it, and these things kind of move around, you can see how far the float is away from the spar, so there's potential, yeah, that can move.
But it's just vertical. It's just vertical, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll stick around later if you want to chat about it.
You're not gonna take my scales off my fish before I weigh it, are you?
No comment. There's quite a bit of detail that we're going to have to work through in terms of information flow and communication, for sure. We're in the process of establishing our plan for the summer right now, so a lot of things are still in draft. We're going to have 33 monitors, maybe there's going to be more monitors. So what we're going to do over the next month is to finalize our plans for what we're going to do out in the lake, and then communicate it by either an email, posting it on the website, or putting it on the newsletter. Maybe if there's a member meeting in between, we can come again, right? And then not take up all this time, but just do an update. And then we're thinking in the fall sometime, again, we can do another get-together. So what I'd like to request, if everyone's okay, is to gather around up at the front, and we just want a picture with a check and our banner for community sponsorship, and we'll take a picture. And the reason why I want everyone up here is because we're all part of this. And the other reason is because I want to take it back to and make them want to be here in the fall. All right, so I just wanted to say thank you again to everyone. It's been a great evening, and thank you for having us here.
Got to crowd in, folks.
Shoulder to shoulder. Turn. Yep.
see themselves in the picture. But this is more for effect than anything else. Okay, I'll try to get at least Sherry.